we cram here, 3 rooms. That's how we live before we become full-time athlete. We can just hope that there's nothing worse can happen to us.
Oh, cool. They left us one of these.
Yes. I think when I started, I knew that there were 2 big games that they were playing. I knew I was going to follow their lives through this game. But what happened in between, I think we really just went along.
Feels like it was sometime in 2016. I remember you telling me that you wanted to embark on exploring doing this story and whether I would come on board, and I was very intrigued by this story and the pursuit of this team.
I remember I asked you to come for the training, and I knew that if you saw it, you would come on board.
Yeah, I think that first night when you brought me to that training pitch in Bukit Jalil, it was pure fascination for me. Before going to see them, of course I imagined what it might be like and all that, but what you imagine in your head and having to see it in real life was just very fascinating. Like, how does it work? Yeah.
So John, when we met, you've not even edited a documentary before. So what was it about this story that made you decide, this is something that you want to work on?
When you and the producer came to me and then tell me about you want to do a feature documentary, right? Yeah. And then some more is a story about blind football team. I got very curious on how the process would be like. Because I know that in documentaries there are 1,000 ways to edit the film. That got me very keen to be on this project.
But I think as long as I've known you, you've always been very particular about the personnel who work together on a film project with you.
I think you were right in the sense that I was very particular about who's the crew, because I try to take in consideration the fact that they can't see the crew. So sometimes when there's too many different people, they get a bit confused. More than that is that it is their personal space that we are going into. We need to gel together, not just with the character, but also as a team. Because in documentary, a lot of things are on the go, run and gun. I really needed my team to be on top of their game. Let's say I'm not there, if they see something, before I say record, they go and shoot it already. I mean, especially, that scene where Asri and Azriel was in the locker room. I mean, I was with you, right? And Siwi was following Asri. That was an important scene to have in the film later on.
On that day, how long have you been shooting?
I guess at least 70 plus already.
70 plus?
Official shooting days. I mean, minus the development that I did on my own.
It's actually the guy who started filming that particular part, Siwi. He worked as a sound recordist on a large chunk of the film. So he was familiar with the boys, and more importantly, they were comfortable with him. To add to Wen's point just now, when we film with characters, even people with sight would already sometimes feel uncomfortable having us around them in their private spaces, let alone these boys, they are blind and they have to go on the word of the director, who they already knew by then, that don't worry, my cameraman is okay, and we have to build that trust with them as well.
Hitam, kelabu, silver, biru, dah habis dah. Merah, silver, putih, hitam, silver, merah, silver. Senang je mata saya makin banyak cahaya makin nampaklah saya. Makin the more light I receive, the more I can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can see the camera around you?
No.
It's quite dark.
Yeah, but I can see the light out there.
When you are one of those filmmakers that I know who really takes pride in delving deep into a human interest story, you spend a lot of time with these boys and gaining their trust and working on this story. Maybe you could share about that.
Before this also, I had no idea how they did things, and the only way I could learn is by spending time with them. That is also including, trying to gain their trust. And then because I spent time with them, I could understand how a blind person moves around. So kira blind tapi dia ada kategori, so like B1, B2, B3.
Kabur-kabur.
Tapi dia boleh
bawa motor.
Zon, bola.
It's already quite precarious getting onto a pitch filming sighted people play futsal, for instance. Even though they can see you, but the fact they can see you, they can also avoid you.
If I'm actually walking towards there, you just follow me.
Hopefully nobody remember me.
I will go inside.
These are boys who are going full steam ahead and they can't see you, and they'll just slam into you if you don't get out of the way.
Yeah, and I think this was a few times that they actually slammed to us. But
Yeah. You punya passion baru?
Passion salah ambil. Memang kau sengaja kasut dari sebelah ke apa? Salah ambil. Oh, jauh. Ke start. Betul.
Warna apa? Ni warna apa?
pink dengan kuning.
Ni warna kuning ya?
Pink orange.
Pink kuning. Warna pink dan saya kasut kuning. Dan yang kedua warna orange.
Ni ambil terus ni.
Biar
Tapi
masuk
jangan kaji tak
dokumentari.
pakai nak bohong.
This thing started in May 2016. I came to see you when? 2016, 2017?
Definitely 2016, but I can't remember which part of the year.
No money. Yeah, no money for a year. It's a lot of rejection. And it's almost non-existent that this idea of having a feature doc, putting it in cinemas here, was difficult to get funding, difficult to get people to believe that this could become a reality. And I would say that it was really seeing Coach through his struggles and seeing him, still stay on track and still wanting to do this for the football team, because what he does is, it's a thankless job. I think that somehow rubbed off on me, that I felt, I can find a way to make this film. And what really kept pushing me every day, I think it's that promise that I had to the football team, that I came to you guys, I told you that I'm going to tell your story, and this is the same with all other subjects or stories I've worked with.
If I had to pick out challenges throughout the film, was definitely the initial stage of integration. Getting used to filming something where your characters don't know you're there, or even if they did, they don't know you're still there, or they can't see you. Getting used to that, reminding myself, don't always think of trying to get the next shot, even though I'm thinking about it, is get the full shot so we can see in the context of somebody who is not sighted, how they will move around, what will they do, how do I visually show this to an audience who's not there filming it.
Well, I left the technical to you. For me, it's really the characters. We've got great characters, but
Very good.
Yes, I mean, Kenchot is the rock star on the team. You know, they are not professional actors, so it's not like I could say, hey, you know, you got to do this right now. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it, and that's the risk that documentary filmmakers take, because you could be filming halfway and then they just decide, I don't want to do this anymore, and you know, they are not obliged to finish the story with you.
Hey, stand in front of me. Anything you kena.
Yeah, you're taller, so...
Yeah, kena your face. I think the main difference filming a documentary like this compared to narrative film is there is no control. You can plan ahead, but you can't hang on so tightly to what you are planning to do.
What is this, man?
At the same time, the things that concern us, make sure it's still cinematic, still look good, we're still telling a good story. Those things were definitely important, but that lack of control, not being able to dictate everything like you would on a fixed narrative film set.
When you first plan the story, you thought that you have this kind of story. Then when you shoot it, you thought that you're gonna deliver this kind of story, and then edit it to something else. So you know, the final storyteller and work with the director to share this. I mean, to go the same direction.
And that's the beauty of filmmaking. Different people at different stages,
Adding their stuff,
adding this extra to it.
touch.
One thing about filming documentaries also, I mean, from a producer's point of view, we can't hire the cinematographer for, you know, every day for 8 months. Some days I had to film, especially when things happen ad hoc. Maybe it's the beauty or the risk or the challenge of making documentaries is that if you're not there, you miss the action. There's no way to say like, hey, can we like redo this scene? Like, can we retake?
Doktor.
Ha? Apa punya doktor?
Dr. Jacob
Jack.
Filem.
I think there were some scenes that I would like to have in the film, but when the incident happened, you know, we were just not there.
I remember editing this. I think it's before the Paralympic Games, right?
Yeah.
Paralympic Games. So there's like the scene in the hotel where I wish we have footage more of like what happened before to make that scene more, I say, impactful. But I think that's the problem and also the beauty of documentary. You have to make do with whatever you have, because you don't have their footage of like, their life in 24 hours, like shooting them.
I remember always discussing with you, Wen, about this. When I can't be there, and I said the person that needs to be there and can be there would be yourself, because of how close you were to them. The fact that you knew how to shoot as well by yourself and manage sound when you need to. Even then, you can't be there every waking hour. You had a day job to manage, and you can't camp out 24/7 there. Like, it's just not realistic from a budget standpoint. And only because you knew these characters so well and you knew these scenarios so well that we could, you know, at least still plan to get what we needed for the story.
When I was searching for an editor, again, the talent pool in Malaysia is so small. Even though I'm an editor myself, I don't want to be editing my own film because I want a fresh pair of eyes looking at the footage and putting the story together. I did consider getting a foreign editor in Bangkok who later became our post supervisor. But I remember one of the things that when we met, the conversation that we had, and you said that you went to boarding school, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought that it was very important that the editor understand the nuances and understood what was it like for a group of boys living in a hostel. And
I think you also mentioned because of the characters are Malays.
Yes.
It helps to have someone who understands
the culture. I mean, I remember that you asked me for some time alone. You just wanted to go through the footage when you first got it, yeah.
Yeah, I asked for, I think around 2-3 weeks alone, just for me to look through all the footage and think of possible ways of telling the stories, and also to execute your vision where you gave me a rough script on how you imagine the story should be, right? So when I first got the footage, why this is shaky, why this is out of focus, then I need to remind myself this is people who just chase the story, not the story.
Yeah, it was not there for you, okay, you can't retake, you can't.
Yep. And sometimes that happen where they're not ready because the story is happening.
Okay. I mean, was it difficult for you? I mean, trying to edit then?
Difficult, but it's a challenge that I like. Where there are a lot of stages of telling the stories, from you drafting how the story could be, and then from the DP capturing, and to me trimming them and putting them together, and they become another story.
If you saw anything shaky or out of focus, it wasn't me, John. There were other people who also shot on this project. When we first came on a project, I remember you telling me that this isn't just another TV documentary that I got so used to filming. So these were things that to consider in terms of framing, pacing, and not needing to feel the need to always jump to a different angle. This had a lot of elements of verite and observational documentary filmmaking where we're just watching and waiting.
One word would happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to
I remember the last day editing this film. I'm not editing. Mm-hmm. We are just sitting there thinking that are we doing the right decision? Yes. To call we already have a film. Because I think that's the hardest part in every film, but this is harder because you have more footage.
Yeah, I think one of the first few cuts, I wanted a different start to the story. Yeah, remember I wanted this broken lamb and all that. The last shot I had an idea how I wanted it, but it totally changed. It wasn't what was in the final film, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of doing documentaries. Yeah. Because there are 1,000 ways of telling the stories.
I think with every story that I pursue, the reason why I pursue it in the first place is because I'm intrigued and curious about the characters and their world. I think documentary essentially is a window to a world that we've never known before. And this is something which I hope that I can tell through the film, that people who watch the film will also understand a little bit more about a blind person's world.
Of course, for people to experience watching something Malaysian made is definitely very important.
You and I, we both come from TV docs background, and it's what I've been doing for 10 years. I think that we can do more than that. We look in the region, they have this culture that people go to the cinemas to watch documentaries. So why can't we have it here?
I think it's good that documentaries now get shown in cinema. There's something magical about watching this in cinema where you can
Yes,
the sharing,
the experience.
yeah, the experience of
yes.
sharing with like maybe like 20 other people who's watching the same thing, and that moment.
So this is why I think why I wanted to make a feature doc is because I knew that this wasn't like a 10 minutes video that you watch on your laptop at home with headphones. I wanted to bring the audience into a blind person's world through cinema, through the sound design, through the big screens, the visual. It would be very different if you just saw it on your laptop at home or your TV.
So it is great that this is going on another platform where it's highlighted.
This is where you cut to the trailer.
Okey, ini mata tak nampak sejak umur 14 tahun.
Ya betul.
Biasa di kampung ni saya tidak boleh buat apa-apa lah. Kalau saya nampak mungkin boleh juga saya potong pergi kelapa sawit semua.
Orang kampung ingat orang buta ni tak ada kejayaan.
Kita ada tugas besar. You do this mistake, you akan dihukum.
Itu nak balik. Aku faham bro, aku faham.
Luka-luka ni agak teruk juga. Jadi yang ini mungkin harapan awak untuk bermain tu makin tipis lah.
Okay.
He may be blind, but his senses, he knows everything what's going on in the field.